Hey YouTube, how's it going? How are you doing? I just realized I didn't check my speaker stuff. Can you hear me? Test, test, test. How is your day? What did you do today? I just worked a bit. I'm really excited to be here. It's been a bit of an annoying week this week. My eyeballs have been hurting more than usual, but today it's super rainy and humid, and so my eyes aren't feeling as dry, and so I'm not as in as much discomfort as I usually am. So that's a plus. Oh, hey, Gary, thank you for being here. And Jenny, hi, Jenny. Mark, hello, Mark. How's it going? I hope you're doing well. It's been a while. Well, no, I just saw you a little while ago, but before then, it's been a while. So it's cool to see you. Thank you so much for joining. Today, I'm excited to do a video about Bill Britt, one of the past top distributors in Amway. He was in for 6 million years, and he's telling us about the title of his speech is just 66866. I have mentioned it before, and it is just his method, his method, I guess, his system for going diamond, for finding financial freedom in Amway. And my dad has always told me to have a notebook in here, because when I don't when I let things play for a bit, when I have longer videos, I always forget what I want to say. So I have a notebook, and there is some parts where he's talking about a lot of numbers, and so I'm going to be writing those down so I can properly provide some commentary. Oh, hello, Anne Marie. Thank you for joining. So nice to see you. Oh, thank you, Jenny. I appreciate that. Yeah, it was tough, but then today it was better because it's raining. Today and yesterday was better for sure. Hi, Sina. Sina is crocheting a bit while lurking. Oh, welcome to the lurk. I hope you enjoy. I have no idea when this speech was. I don't want this layout, because I want you to be able to see the closed captioning. So I have more stuff on my desk than I usually do, because I have my notebook, and so my cord is all bundled up. Okay, I think I'm ready. Please let me know if he's too loud, too quiet, anything like that. Oh, hi, Red Wing. Yay, so many people. Okay, I'm ready. Oh, and we're going to do half. We're doing half of this. The goal will be to get to 31 minutes, but I may just stop it sooner if I'm getting tired and hungry.
Bill Britt, come on, Bill. Rock and roll, man. Let's hear it for Bill now. Come on now.
This is on 1.25 speed because it's long, but please tell me if it's too fast. And hello, PH Actress. So nice to see you.
What I'm going to hit very carefully here for next about an hour, and then you can go home. Let's get busy. Because I believe there's a possibility we could almost double in 1 year our whole volume. Wouldn't that be something? To belong to an organization that can increase $1 billion a year. If we do $1 billion in 1 year and go to 2 billion, then we can do 4 billion, if you know what I mean. The whole weekend, we're saying, we want you guys to make a lot of money, but do it honestly. We want you to be wealthy. There's every reason on earth that you ought to be wealthy and not be behind the 8 ball income-wise, lifestyle-wise. Are you with me? What I want to do here is just make some good sense to you, because there's been some wrong concepts about working with and death. And once you...
I forgot. There's a trigger warning for brief mention of alcoholism later on in the video. So yeah, if you don't want to hear that, then feel free to skip. So he said we can double the volume, I guess, of Bill Britt's team in a year. We go from $1 billion to $2 billion, and he's making it seem like it's some brilliant team effort that's actually going to impact the people at the bottom of his pyramid. But we know in reality that if the volume is doubled, he's at the top of his pyramid, so he's going to see the benefits. The average people on the bottom are not going to. And he said he wants us to make money honestly. That's comical, because we know in an MLM, there's no way to become wealthy honestly, especially in Amway. All of the tactics we've seen that are taught within Amway, there are always manipulative, deceitful. We're always lying or withholding the truth. So I just thought that was interesting. And I've noticed a couple more people joining. If I'm looking down, it's because I'm writing notes. Autocorrect changed licked to liked. That's funny. But thank you for licking or liking the stream. I appreciate it.
You understand the guide that I'm going to put on here. If you really understand it, you'll never be without momentum, and momentum is what makes this business work. It's not how hard you work, it's how smart you work. Now we have to make a couple assumptions, okay? And let's just see if we can agree and not get hung up on the words. First assumption, that when you come into the business, you're totally void, or another word is stupid, about the building concept of this business. You agree? Okay, which means everybody you bring in doesn't know anything about it either. And there's millions of different ways they could go, but that you're the one who makes sure they get on the right track as soon as possible. Concept number one, and say we're all ignorant about this business, is an understatement, but we have to accept that. No matter what you thought about business or what you think you know about, no matter what a guy knows about being a rocket scientist, it really isn't a big deal, because you have to start all over and learn this business. Because all the concepts are different from every other business I've ever known about, and I haven't known about that many. There may be some out there, but basically it's unique and it's different. That's why you can go so much farther with this business than you can another business, because of the uniqueness of it. So that's concept number one. Concept number two, you don't have anybody until you got them sponsoring somebody. So if you sponsor a lot of people don't sponsor anything, you're sponsoring a bunch of nobodies that never going to do anything. Now that's not a nice way to say it, but I hope you understand what I mean. That the first responsibility of anybody sponsoring is to get the people they sponsored sponsoring. Get them an organization going. And so that means you just don't teach it. That means you do it, teach it, and teach the teachers how to teach what I'm going to show you. And that's a balance between width and depth.
Okay, I like my method. So the volume is okay, right, friends? Because he's quite loud. Hey, Elaine, how's it going? I hope you're doing well. So he's saying that he wants us to work smarter, not harder. It's interesting because in Amway, we know that they're taught to show the plan constantly. They have to prospect every moment they leave the house. Everyone is a potential prospect to them. They're told, like, why are you going out? Why are you spending time with your spouse? You need to always be working your business, or else you're never going to be diamond. So that's a really interesting thing for him to say. And he said, when we start, we know we're all ignorant about the business, and everyone, I think he's kind of insinuating that everyone starts from square one, because the business is so unique. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are. It doesn't matter if you're a rocket scientist, if you've done business before. We're all starting at a level playing field. However, Bill, you started, I think, in like the 60s, didn't you? And so if you started in the 60s and you bring someone in 1982, you were not starting from an even playing field. You were in longer. You were in when Amway was just starting out, when less people knew it was a scam. So you're automatically at an advantage. And since you've been in for so long, people like you and Dexter Yeager, you have a direct connection to the founders children, and just that connection to the founders, that also gives you more legitimacy, because people may want to join your business, so they are connected. So they have that connection to Rich and Jay as well. It's finally saying the business is so unique. So that's why we can find great success, because there's no other business like it. That's not true, because every other MLM anywhere is exactly like Amway, sir. And the interesting part, he's like, we're nothing if we're not sponsoring people who also sponsor people. So we need to have width. We need to have lots of our own personally sponsored distributors, but we also need to have depth. We're nothing without depth. Isn't that interesting? It's like a constant chain of recruitment. We need to teach people to go out and recruit people, and not only recruit people, but those people need to also build their depth as well. And it just goes on and on and on. And so, yeah, we're not going to have our volume requirements if we do not have our depth as well. I like the notes because I was able to let it play for a while and I didn't forget anything. Oh, Jenny's here, but lurking. Nice. Okay, volume is good for Jenny. Volume is good for PH Actress. Thank you. Thank you. I'm not sure. I've listened to a lot of these. They all kind of blend together. These tapes on this YouTube page don't tell us when it was delivered. Could be the 80s. Could be the 90s, could be 2012. I'm really not sure. And that's why it's a bit annoying. We're kind of guessing. But good question. Thank you. This business is so unique that there are now hundreds of MLMs, really a complex and unique opportunity, right? It's not unique. They're all exactly the same. And we may have the ranks structured slightly differently, but all comp plans are the same because you need to recruit people in order to oh, you need to recruit people in order to make money. Okay. If you sponsor someone, you will have bought in because now you're responsible to someone below to make it work and make the promises you gave them of wealth come true. Great. Great. Yeah, great point. I would look great in a convertible. Thank you, Mark. Oh, yes. So, yeah, he passed in 2013. It was before then. He's sounding young. He's sounding energetic. I know he started in the 60s. And so, yeah, I'm really not sure. And he looks young in this picture. So it could potentially have been in like the 80s or the 90s. Okay, let's keep going.
And you always say, I guarantee you, I cannot guarantee the future. The only thing I can guarantee is what I'm going to do, what I believe I'm going to do. I can't tell you what anybody else is going to do. Okay? So that's the future, and I will never be a part of guaranteeing the future except for three things. You're going to pay taxes, you're going to die, and you're going to pay more taxes. It's permanent. The biggest reason why people don't make...
Okay, Mark said he started in 1970. Okay. Let's see the exact date. Bill Britt Amway. When did Bill Britt start? I want to know like the specific date in the month. Bill Britt start in Amway. Just says 1970. Started their Amway business. They were in financial problems, but they always believed there would be a solution. One of the first things they did was call everyone on their friends and family list, of course. Yeah, it says here he registered with Amway in 1970, went diamond in 73, and double diamond in 1976. Okay, thank you, Mark. Okay, let's keep going.
Get in the business is not because they can't work and won't work. It's because they don't let the seed stay planted long enough for the fruit to come from. What I want to do now is understand what the first things I need. What are the first things I need to do? I begin to speak what isn't as if it were. I've been saying that for years and years and years. Every now and then somebody hears it. But you begin to speak what isn't as if it were. You don't speak what you do have that you don't want. You speak what you don't have that you do want. What are you doing? I'm going diamond. When are you going diamond? Well, I'm in the process of going diamond right now. I should be there very shortly. You don't have to have it's nice if you know a specific date. That's wonderful. If what you say makes sense, then it makes sense both ways, and we're both happy because we know what you're shooting for. We know that you're not shooting a shotgun out there somewhere in the wilderness, that you've got lights on it, that you've got it identified, that you've got a bullseye, that you've got it sitting right up on the blade of your rifle, and that you've got that thing zeroed in from looking through the eyepiece, the hole that's on the back of the rifle, so you've got your windage and adjustment and everything just right, elevation just right, so you know you're shooting exactly at something you want to accomplish. So how are you going to do that? You're going to do it with other people. You're going to do it with numbers. So we begin to get things in order.
So I think this is where the complicated number thing starts. It's funny how he's saying you can't guarantee the future, but then if we speak what isn't as if it were, then we will magically become diamond. So he's saying as long as we just speak like we are already diamond, then it will occur. And I feel like the speak what isn't as if it were is really echoed in things like Ray Higdon says something similar. I don't remember his exact quote, but it's like, speak of your future as if it's your past or something. Speak about your future goals as if it already happened. And then you will start to believe that that's your actual life and you've actually achieved that goal. And then you will live as if you achieved that goal. And then it will actually occur. If we just speak like we're already a diamond, then we will become a diamond. All we have to do is just tell people we're on our way to being diamond, and then it will just happen. And that's so dishonest because we're on our way to diamond. Well, I guess everyone who starts in Amway is technically on their way to diamond, even if you are still in the first rank and you don't even have anyone there, anyone in your downline. So we could be potentially making it seem like we're a lot more we're a lot more successful than we actually are. Because, oh, we're on our way to diamond. Oh, okay, how close are you? Oh, next month. Well, really? Really? Theoretically, I guess you could get to diamond next month if you recruited a bunch of people, but chances are you're not going to. Okay, so you're saying that I don't have a good setup in here. Maybe I could move my mic over because I feel like I'm like staring over here. So the business doesn't work, not because the system is broken, but because we do not let the seeds that we've previously planted grow. We need to prospect. We need to continue to showcase the value of the Amway business. And then if we just let those seeds grow, we can reap the harvest and they will want to join us. So that's why the business isn't growing, not because it's a broken compensation plan. And I already said speak what isn't as if it were already about going diamond. So I went through all my points. He sure got in at the right time, Mark. You're correct. He was a tool kingpin. Kingpin. Everything is about manifesting all the time. And I love Danielle Ryan's definition discussions on manifestation, saying she's all about visualizing things that are important, but she thinks manifestation, though that rhetoric kind of takes away the requirement for actual tangible action to achieve the goal. And all we have to do is just say we're going to be a millionaire and we actually are. And yeah, it takes the emphasis away from needing to actually make a plan and implement the plan. But in contrast to MLM world, in day-to-day life, if we try to visualize a goal and then we create a plan to achieve that goal, there's a greater chance that it could actually happen. It will occur. That's manifestation, right? Correct. You're not the only one. Oh, I can't believe I got sucked into this. Oh, yeah. And PH Actress says you are not the only one, so don't feel bad. Exactly. Thank you for that. That's a really nice thing to say. They did get millions of people, and it's very sad, for sure. I love Danielle's stuff. I learned so much from her. She's so smart. There's never really any troubleshooting people's specific problems, just always generally saying you aren't succeeding because you're doing it wrong. And everyone learns differently, right? Like someone may be able to go off and figure out the answer to their problems on their own, and someone else may need more guidance and like step-by-step instructions. Not everyone is able to work completely independently before they fully understand a task. And in MLM, it's always just you're doing it wrong, and then that's it. There's never any tangible advice given, and I could imagine people who can't necessarily work independently just floundering and not knowing where to go from there. That's a good point. So I think this may be the number part. I think so. Let me get ready to write stuff down.
And we begin to use all the powers that we don't use that we know we do have. Again, it's like driving a 930 Turbo Carrera from Los Angeles to Wilmington, North Carolina at 5 miles an hour when I got a car to do 180. It's stupid. So we start using some brain power up here. And so here, what we're doing is it's going to be people. It's numbers. It's numbers. Let me tell you a little secret. When I show this plan to people, I consider it a privilege for them to see it. And if they don't want to get in, I don't want them to get in more than they don't want to get in. I'm happier than they are when they don't get in, because they'd be a problem for me. They'd take up so much of my time, and I can't stand it when somebody wants to take up all my time, so I can't get the time to spend with a lot of people. One wants all my time, but so I can't give a lot of time to a lot of people. I'd rather deal with a lot of people who don't need as much time. They're just going to go figure things out. Now, so let's deal with people. So you got to set in motion a process to begin to show the plan. Now I'm going to tell you some very unique little examples here that are secrets, if you want to call them secrets, and if you do them, they make a difference. Now here's what you want. You want to know what you're shooting for. Now don't shoot for this one without going through these. Okay, now how many in here would really be free at 60 to 100,000? Okay, if you're going to be free at this one, you're going to be free at that one. How many are looking at the diamond level? I mean, we're not talking big time. I'm going emerald. Hey, emerald's just along the way. Don't make a big deal out of emerald. Emerald's not a big deal. Emerald's just a click along the way. It's just a spot along the way that you're passing by, going to where? Real freedom for most people, which is what? Diamond. So that's why we call this weekend Go Diamond.
All right, so he was telling us business is all about numbers. That's true. In the MLM context, the people don't really matter. The people's business acumen, their social media presence, their personality doesn't really matter. As long as you have a certain number of people slotted into specific spots of your downline, then you'll be able to find success. It is a numbers game. The people don't actually matter. He said that he understands people seeing the plan as a privilege, and they should be like, yeah, they should feel happy and grateful that they're even in his presence while he's showing the plan. And if they don't want to join, then it's their fault and it doesn't matter anyways, because they would likely be someone who it takes up too much of his time, and Bill would rather have less people in his downline but they take up less of his time than a bunch of people who like need a bunch of guidance. So just like what Paige Actress said, like they don't want someone who actually needs help. They just want to say you're doing it wrong and it's your fault. And so that's why you're failing, right? And I have a question, friends. So he's saying that diamond is where the freedom is, where you'll make all your money. Okay, once we get to diamond, is ambassador push next? Is crown ambassador, whatever, push next? Because we know that you can never just be content and happy where you are. So he's making diamond seem like the amazing promised land. But I wonder, once you get there, what happens next? And I have a question. So once you get to diamond, is it actual financial freedom? Are you actually making a true profit where you could potentially quit your job? Because he's making it seem like if you get to diamond, you're making 60 to 100K. Is that true from your knowledge? It's okay if you don't know or you don't want to say. I'm just wondering, because in places like Beachbody, they always emphasize the diamond rank or the 2-star diamond rank, but we know at those ranks, you're not going to be making that much money in Beachbody. How come they're all 6s? Oh, and the 66866. He's going to go into it and tell us. Oh, hey, Lori. No problem. Thank you for joining. This is Bill Britt and Peggy Britt. I think they have both passed away, but they were both one of the highest up distributors in Amway. They started in 1970. So Laura, you just joined. There's going to be a brief mention of alcoholism later on in the stream, and I did put that in the title, but anyone who didn't hear me at the beginning, that's your trigger warning. Bill and Peggy were so idolized because Bill was stereotypically manly and Peggy was extremely quiet and introverted and let Bill lead everything. I was expected to look up to her. Interesting. Condescension. Okay, I knew what you meant. No worries. They were considered gods. Ooh. They're Bill and Peggy Britt, the head of Britt Worldwide, Amway Motivational Organization, and some of the richest MLM grifters there have ever been. They were instrumental in developing the tool scam. Thank you for that. That's a really good high-level description. Can't believe what MLM say exactly. Oh, hey, Charlie. Thank you for joining. I'm happy you're here because I know you like the Amway streams. Okay. I'm just typing in my YouTube. And when I have some spare time, I want to do research on Legal Shield to do more of like a research heavy stream. And I'll see if I have time this weekend. If I don't, it might need to wait for a bit because I'm busy next weekend and won't have any spare time. There won't be any videos at all. How sad. But I definitely want to look into Legal Shield a little bit more. But thank you for asking, Lori. And here is my YouTube email.
So I could say it. Can you say it? I'm here to learn exactly what it takes to go diamond soon, quickly. I'm willing to pay the price or I wouldn't be here. I believe it's the right thing to do or I wouldn't be here. It costs me money and time and energy to be here, and I haven't got time and money to waste. So I'm here for a purpose. I'm here to learn exactly what to do, and I'm going to go home and get the job done. That's it. Period. Nobody else's business. That's my decision and mine alone. If somebody else don't like it, tough. Because I'm here for this purpose. So they can hide in the bushes and watch. I am not going to be controlled by others who think I ought to be what I'm not. I'm going to decide what I'm going to be and what I'm going to do And I'm going to do the best that I know to do with my life. And I will not be denied. That's my right. That's my responsibility. And I will not shirk from it. That's it. Period. That's definite. That's the way it is. Okay, you need people. So what you do, soon.
That's a lot. And so he's telling us we need to go diamond quickly. Why does it matter how fast we go diamond? We know it's because the quicker we go diamond, the more financial benefit our uplines get. I just wrote chance equals culty / manifestation, right? So he's telling us all of these amazing things. You made sacrifices to be here. You're going to go diamond. It's your decision. It's the right thing to do. And then everyone is just sitting there blindly repeating after him. Very culty, very strange. I wonder if this is a normal thing, if this is like an average thing that occurs at the Amway events currently. If anyone knows, is chanting still a thing nowadays? And I thought for sure he was going to say, when he said something along the lines of like, if you don't like it, go hide in the bushes and watch. I thought he was going to say, go take a flying leap, because he likes to say that a lot. Go take a flying leap. But he didn't say that this time. So that was interesting. And yeah, diamond is a decision. All we need to do is just decide, chant with Bill, and then we'll magically find the correct number of people for us to go diamond. Okay, I'm trying to diamond rank Amway. I'm probably not going to be able to find quickly how to go, what the diamond rank requirements are. Because I know I don't want to be downloading anything on my husband's computer. I remember, please correct me if I'm wrong, you have to have 6 directs, at least 6 directs, who all meet a certain level of personal volume, and they all have to be at a certain rank, correct? Please correct me if I'm wrong. It's not an easy thing to go diamond, because you could have the 6 directs, but then you don't have the volume requirement to hold your diamond rank, and you have to hold it for like 6 months. The average like qualification periods are 6 months, and that's just outrageous. Why? I thought 6 weeks for Beachbody was a long time. My father once told me that he feels Bill Britt has done more for America and mankind than any other modern man. Wow. That's a lot. I agree, Jenny. So culty. The chanting is very Orwellian. Do you mean George Orwell, 1980? What's that book? 1981, 1984? 1984, is that what you mean, Gary? Let's see. George Orwell. Yeah, 1984. I was like, is it 1981 or 1984? I can't remember. I don't want to be judgy, but he doesn't seem particularly manly to me. He talks too much and too fast. Oh, yeah. It is at 1.25 speed because this is so long. So he's not actually speaking that fast. It's a little bit slower. There's so much call and response, chanting and repeating after the leader in all of these talks / meetings. How do these people not see this as a cult? So it's still happening now. Interesting. Yeah, they're so dangerous, Charlie. You're totally right. Or you're not Charlie. This is Charlie. That's a really good point. Really good point. And people are already bought in at this point, are already part of the Amway culture and the Amway system. So they might not see the red flags, right? Great points. Physical gestures to go with the chanting, rushing the stage at certain moments. They do all that sort of stuff. Wow. Chanting is nice, in my opinion, if they're special words, sacred words. But in my opinion, chanting the slick country boy sales patter is just absurd. Yeah, I think I agree. And have we ever been at a business, at a work event where we have to do this kind of chanting? I think it's a little bit strange, and it would definitely be a red flag for me. And yes, 1984. Thank you, PH actress. I thought so, but I couldn't remember.
As you get serious, get a little pad and carry it in your pocket all the time. Always wear a shirt with an upper left-hand pocket. And every time you meet somebody, take it out and ask them what their name and telephone number is. You always want to get the names already accumulated before you need to do the sponsoring, so you can bring people in groups, so you can create a psychological fact, which is group competition. That's why it never works when you onesies and twosies the deal. You need to make it so that if one guy doesn't get your time, another guy will. You need to get so people see you're serious, so that you can get them to do what you're doing. You should always do what you want your people to do because you're teaching them in everything that you do. So the best teacher is the one who teaches what they are doing or have done so that other people can see by their example what you need to do. So the people that get in that don't do it, don't worry about it. At least they had a chance. The people that don't get in that you show it to, don't worry about it. So it's numbers. No big deal, just human beings, just numbers. There's no way you can go look at who this person's mother and father were, or the grandmother and grandfather were, or where they really come from. What you see is on the surface, so you cannot psychologically investigate every human being that comes along, so you got to sponsor just people. Now look, I sponsored an alcoholic that never sponsored a person, not one, and that's how I wound up with the Biller leg and Limburg leg. I got that because I sponsored a guy no one would sponsor, an alcoholic, the worst alcoholic in town, and I figured since my dad was an alcoholic, I'll give this guy a chance. He never sponsored a soul, but he had a wife at one time that he was divorced from that had married a pole climber for the telephone company. Y'all follow me? I didn't prejudge. I didn't try to figure all that out ahead of time. But the guy told my wife about his former wife that now is a hairdresser. And so Peggy got her hair dressed out there, and before you knew it, she wanted to get in the business. I couldn't have planned all of that. That's just the way that it works. You guys that get so careful wanting to sponsor exactly perfectly right. We say, hey, sponsor 25 to 35. That's where the most excitement is. Well, somewhere you got to get started.
Okay. Because he's going to go into some numbers. So he said sponsor 25 to 35. Okay, first, the way he's talking about someone who he sponsored who was an alcoholic, I really don't appreciate that. Like, oh, I sponsored an alcoholic. Why is it such a flex? Why does it matter if the person's an alcoholic or not? Like they could potentially be going through something. They could be working actively to try to heal, to try to become sober. And it's not something that makes someone weak, in my opinion. It's not something to just like poke fun at and say, look, I sponsored this really vulnerable person who's going through something mentally, potentially, and going through stressful times in their life. Look, you shouldn't prejudge anyone. And I just don't like it because I feel like he's talking down to someone at this point, and I don't appreciate that at all. What do we think about him carrying a pad and paper and telling us to write down the names and phone numbers of every single person we meet? That shows that we are meant to prospect every single person. It doesn't matter if they've heard of Amway, if they hate Amway, if they don't want to join, if they do want to join. We have to get the numbers of everyone. We're not actually going to tell them that we're recruiting them for Amway, though. We're just potentially making it seem like we care about them, like we want to stay in contact with them. And instead, we are going to get their number, probably talk about, oh, you're so interesting, I want to learn more about you, or it's great that you have your own store, let's get together and talk. And then they're going to realize, hey, you're just trying to recruit me into your pyramid scheme. You don't actually care about me. So that whole interaction was insincere. And it's interesting how he's telling us to bring people in groups, because then we can create semblance of group participation, or not group participation, group competition. Because if people are all competing for Bill's time, for his praise, then people are going to be more likely to do the income producing activities, such as recruiting a shit ton of people and then teaching that shit ton of people how to also recruit a shit ton of people, and so on. And I think that's all I got. And he said we have to sponsor 25 to 35 people. So I'm assuming that's his width. So the number of direct sponsors underneath him. Why do we need to sponsor that many people if the coveted spot of diamond is only 6 directs? I wonder. Why do we need so many people? Their sacred words are diamond, diamond, freedom, freedom, 5 nights a week. Yes, that's true. What else? I can't think of anything else right now, but that's good. Yeah. Love giving my number to creepy men. And can you imagine if you said no, thank you, and then this person was just, well, no, you have to. What's your number? I feel like if I was on my own to get out of the situation, I would just give them a fake number. And I would say, my name is Margaret, and here's my number, and it'd be fake. I know everyone has different tastes, but he just talks too much and doesn't have that quiet, thoughtful presence that makes me see someone as the head of anything. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. I saw a vulnerable person who needed support, but instead I'm going to recruit them. Sina, you may be right. You may be correct. I might be wrong. Let me go back. Because he did talk about that. He did talk about recruiting young people. So you may be right. Let's see. Thank you for that. And yeah, I understand the idea of like someone who's more quiet and more reserved, but still like has a powerful presence. I could see that kind of person really drawing my attention in. I've never seen Bill speak in person, obviously. I don't know how he is on stage. He might be really engaging, but it's really hard to tell when we can't actually see him, you know? Okay, so let's listen hard and see if the ages are 25 to 35 or if that's the number of distributors.
I've planned all that. That's just the way that it works. You guys that get so careful wanting to sponsor exactly perfectly right. We say, hey, sponsor 25 to 35. That's where the most excitement is. Well, somewhere you got to get started. And I got started with somebody that was an alcoholic that never sponsored anybody, that led me to a guy that stayed in 3 nights before he quit. That guy led me to another guy that stayed in about 2 years before he quit. And he left me 2 lousy legs that wasn't doing anything. Mike and Eileen Lindbergh, they were $1,000. Big deal. And Paul was just thinking about getting started about that time. You know, left me with 2 lousy legs. I got 2 for 1. I started out sponsoring a guy that's never sponsored anybody and wound up with 2 lousy legs that I got from one guy that quit because his wife wouldn't said it's either her or the business. You can't know all those things. You just got to follow the path. You just got to get something, do something, and whatever happens, just follow it out. There's no way I could have programmed all that stuff. So it's numbers. Now, I didn't tell you about the 15 people or so I showed it to about the same time I showed it to this alcoholic that didn't get in. There's 19 straight people know that I sponsored a couple, and about another 15 said no. I was always happy and relieved when a guy said no. If they got in, that was great. If they didn't get in, it's great. That's my attitude. Then I can't get hurt that way. I enjoy talking to stupid people because it's only temporary. I don't have to come back that way again. They're just not going to get in my family. Okay, now here's the way you do this thing. In the beginning, you don't have a list.
Okay, so I think you're right. I think he does mean you recruit them between the ages of 25 to 35 because that's where the excitement is. So thank you, Sina, for paying more attention than I was and for pointing that out. I appreciate that. And he's saying one of his members of his downline, they had to quit the business because the wife had said it's either me or the business. The fact that someone was even put in a situation like that where their marriage was potentially at risk is horribly sad and shocking, in my opinion. I'm glad if this story is true, that the individual in his downline actually did make the correct decision and walked away from the business in order to preserve his marriage. But I wonder what was happening in that marriage for there to be such a severe response. That's very shocking to me. And he just kept saying, like, whatever happens, happens. If you don't get in, that's fine, whatever. That's a really, like, prominent sales attitude. We're not meant, as a salesperson, we're not meant to get people to say yes or to close them. We're meant to just be a collector of decisions. And then that way you're not worrying too much about rejection because you didn't get rejected. You just did your job by collecting the decision, collecting the no. And that's fine. But I think it's fair to be upset and worried about all of your no's because that is your livelihood. And if you just get no after no after no, you're not making any money. I've seen him on stage, both in an Amway meeting and the Amway church service. Bill is very dominating on stage. He can make you feel very small, yet very convicted and hopeful at the same time. Wow. And I echo what Elaine said. Elaine just said, wow, thank you for sharing that. Yes, thank you. Definite cult leader vibes. Exactly. Be happy if they say yes or if they say no. Yes, don't evaluate the experience or why they say no. Just keep plugging away blindly the way I tell you and keep being positive. Don't question it. Yeah, don't question it. Don't think about why you're worried about all the rejection. Don't worry about the financial loss. Don't worry about the time you're wasting. Just keep following Bill's system. It sounds like you learned from Ray. No biggie. Or Ray learned from him. I love talking to stupid people. Reminds me of Trump, who says, I love the uneducated. I don't know why they come at me. I don't know why that came to me. Interesting. I've never heard Trump say that, though. But interesting connection there for sure.
So you get your friends, neighbors, and relatives. So whoever the sponsor of that person is should do most of the talking to the friends, neighbors, and relatives for him, because they'll believe you faster than they will the friends, neighbors, and relatives. People are going to be most judgeful are usually the friends, neighbors, and relatives. So that's why the upline will help the downline get 4, 5 to 6 people personally sponsored quickly. Then you've got something. Then you don't have to worry about them getting out. Your retention percentage goes up and things like that. So let me put this U down here and see if I can make this make sense since I did this other thing. Okay, I have been teaching this for 3 or 4 years. It takes 3 or 4 years for people to begin to understand something, no matter what they think. It's strange how it happens. But I see the business distinctly in 3 basic phases. First one is 12, second one is 8, and third one is 12. That's why I call it the 12, 8, 12. Now, after teaching for a while, I really now call it the 6, 6, 8, 6, 6. You say, Bill, why do you call it 12, 8, 12 or 6, 6, 8, 6, 6? Well, I don't know. You got to call it something. That's why you do it. Now, I could have made it 8, 6, 6, 6, or I could have made it 6, 6, 6, 6, 8, 6, or I could have made it 6, 6, 6, 8, 6, 8. But I said, no, I want to do it this way. Now, don't get hung up. We could make it 13, 7, and 12. It's a guy.
Hey, Mr. Ranger Lab, how's it going? We're just listening to Bill, and he's telling us about 66866. He's not done completing his thought yet, and so I'm just ready to take notes, and he's going to tell us exactly what he means here. Oh, play.
Guide. It's a guide so that people will know something very important that I'm going to show you that very few people ever do. The first part of the business is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The whole thing is timing. Numbers plus timing. It's going to make your business go. It's not you being super duper unbelievable, phenomenal human being. It's a great salesmanship ability. It's just that you know how to show this to people. And it's like, I believe the ones that are supposed to get in are going to get in, and the ones that are supposed not to aren't. And if they get in, great. If they don't get in, great. But you need to have enough, big enough list so that when you sponsor in batches, you can bring in one of these batches in a close time or proximity, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 1 week, maybe one night if you can do it. The whole idea is when you get ready to get your second batch of 6, that you have your pad that's in your pocket with 30 or 40 names on there that you sit down there and you call those dudes, and nothing's going to come over, going to get in this business. If you got to show it to 30 to get 6, so be it. Be getting those names together. Keep your pad in your pocket. You shouldn't be caught without that pad up there, because you should not have to go get the names and sponsor these people at the same time once you do the first batch, because you're up.
So our upline is going to talk to our friends, relatives, and neighbors for us, and they're going to help us get the first 4 to 5 people, because we don't know what we're doing yet, and we need like a third-party expert to bring in our first people, just like Brian Carruthers taught us in the 3-way calls. And then we have to go through our business in phases. We need to bring in batches of distributors quickly to fill out the 6, 6, 8, 6, 6. And my understanding is that this is our width. So we need to have that many distributors brought in quickly in batches to fill out our width. But I don't understand why we need this many people if the goal is diamond, and diamond is 6 directs who meet certain personal volume and rank requirements. We know why though, because people quit, the volume goes down. It's a lot harder to actually maintain your rank, and so maybe you actually need 6, 6, 8, 6, 6 to actually hit and keep diamond. And yes, you need to have a big enough list to keep bringing in the batches to fill out all those numbers. Does that make sense? Oh, Shelby. Hey, Shelby. Thank you for being here. Hello. This is a bit of a different video. We're listening to a very, very old speech from past top Amway distributor named Bill Britt. But thank you for joining. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, Friday. Ooh. Yes, hi to everyone who just came in. Thank you so much. I have so many people here. It's so cool. Awesome. Okay, let's keep going.
upline should do this first batch for you, do the sponsoring for this first batch. That way you keep them, you don't lose them. Then you get them selling, you get your volumes up, and the whole works. Okay? Keep that pad in your pocket. So when you get ready to bring these in, you sit at the telephone and you start calling like crazy. Use a script if you like, and go to town and get those 6 in. Now, every single time, if you do this thing right, we always get 2 out of 6 or at least 4 out of 12. Say why the vary. You may hit 1 out of 6 one time and then 3 out of 6 the next time, but you're going to get 4 out of 12 to work with. And that's the right number of legs to work with at one time. Okay? Means you got 4 that you can work with, 4 that are incubators, and 4 that are going to do whatever. And that's about the way the thing works. You get 2 out of 6. I mean, 2 out of 3 if you hang tough long enough. It's like in here right now. I think Pete Ball. Is Pete Ball in here or did he go home? Pete, there you are. And is this the month you're over? Huh? How long you been with me, Pete? 20 years. Okay, he's an incubator. Okay, so Pete's an incubator. He was with IBM. He's not one of the first 3 to 4 out of the 12. He's one of the second 3 to 4 out of the 12. Y'all with me? And I'm Pete's best buddy, right, Pete? I've never put any pressure on him. I've never made him go anywhere, buy anything, do anything. He's here because he wants to be here. He's building a business because he wants to build a business. A lot of things are happening because he chooses for it to happen. All right? And you got to consider the second group, which is the incubators, the ones who got this, got that. Some guy may have to get his marriage straight. Some guy may have to get his finances straight. Some guy may have to get his attitude straight. Some guy may have to grow inside before he can work outside. Some guy may have to get his spiritual life right. Some guy may have to get his marriage right. Some guy may have to get some kids right. Some guy may have to get something else right. You can't tell. Just numbers is what you know. Okay, now, the first 6 you bring them in, you want to go at least 5 deep. Now, you can go 5 deep in all 6 legs if you can. And you can go 10 deep or 20 deep or 100 deep. But the whole idea is to have something to shoot at, a goal, an identifiable goal, which is 15 distributorships, 6 wide, 5 deep, doing 1,000 PV within what, 90 days. And once you've done that, you should have this pad in your pocket because you're not personally sponsoring here. You've already got them in. That person, you get them into that person if you're upline. But now you're making that list of names. So as soon as this is completed, you go to this one. You flip right.
So this is a lot. He's telling us like 14 different things. So the 4 people are going to be incubators and the 4 legs are going to do whatever they want. And we're able to get 2 out of 3 if we are in the business for long enough, right? We're not getting 2 of 3 people. Does he mean 3 out of 3 people that we talk about the business with, then 2 people are going to join? I highly doubt that. I'm not sure exactly what he means by incubator, but he gave the example of Pete, who's been with him for 30 years. I think potentially an incubator could be someone who is not completely secure in the business just yet. They may be going through something in their life or in their marriage, but they have the ability to, or the mindset to stick around for as long as possible, and they could potentially bill millions and millions of dollars later on down the road. What do you think an incubator means? I think that's what it means. Like, they have the potential to build a big business in Amway. And then he was saying we need to have our first 6 that goes 5 deep. But then he said we have 15 distributors. Now I'm confused because I said 15 distributors, 6 wide, 5 deep with 100 PV in 90 days. I'm confused. The point is, I tried really hard to keep track of all the numbers here. The point is, there's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of requirements, and it's really hard to focus. I'm actually like writing everything down, focusing really hard on what he's saying, and I can't keep up. So how is someone sitting in the crowd going to actually understand what he's saying? Because what he just said, like 15 people, 6 wide, 5 deep, 1,000 PV, that's not the 66866 that he said before. So how do we actually find success? Where is it coming from? How do we get there? I highly doubt people sitting in there are actually following this whole discussion. I doubt it. Flying a plane without having a license and almost killing your family is known as being a wanker who doesn't get off his ego trip long enough to learn respectfully from people who know how. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not with you either. Not with you either. Yeah, there's the women who join are always like behind the man. They're always supporting the man. I hate it. Yeah. That's an MLM-wide thing, and I don't know when this was. It could have been in the 80s or 90s. it's assuming that all the relationships are man and woman. There's no other variations for sure. He seems, yes, exactly. Exactly. People are just numbers. Yes, for sure. Till recent years, only single men or married heterosexual couples with a man leading the family were really expected to join. Amway has a huge religious focus. Interesting. Women were supposed to be supporting their husbands in their business, which is why Peggy stands behind Bill and rarely talks. Yes. Yes. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But I like your point. I like your point. That's an issue in MLMs now. You hear Beachbody talk. It's always the assumption that it's a man and a woman in the relationship, that you can't have any variations at all. For sure.
Right up and do the same thing identically again. By this time, this other one's starting to grow some. You're still working in your 2 legs over here, but 2 legs is not enough. Now you're bringing in your other 6, which is going to give you another 2 legs to work, probably. However, the 2 that it looks like it is may not be the 2 that it's going to find out to be. And what you don't want to do is work in 3 legs forever, 3 to 4 legs forever, because you can get into the management business pretty soon. You can start managing your people, and you can get them mighty upset with you and mad with you because you're not doing what they ought to do. You're not doing what you ought to do. You're doing it wrong because now you got in the management business, and people don't like managers. People like dreamers. They want to be sponsored by somebody that's getting the wit, staying in front, getting the momentum, doing what it takes so they can lead you to do the same thing, so they can prove it. A downline likes to see the upline prove the business to them. Now, by the time you get 5 deep over here in one of these legs, same thing, 15 distributors doing 1,000 PV within 90 days. This right here, that first batch, that first portion, is going to lead you to that income right up there. Is that making sense? Okay. Now, you stay in these 12 legs. But what are you doing while you're staying in these 12 legs? Got a pad in your pocket? What are you doing? Everybody you meet, you're saying what? Give me your name. What's your telephone number? They say, what do you want it for? Say, don't worry about it. Just give me a number. I'm going to call you about making some money. If a guy says, well, I ain't interested in making money, say, I'm glad to know that. You know? Say, you know anybody who's got any intelligence? I'd like to talk to them. Maybe you got a brother that's got some smarts or something. If you believe, you're bold. I don't mean to do it exactly like that. I'm going overboard to tell you, but it's sort of that same way. You learn, this is where to learn use your personality in your own way. Don't use mine. Don't use the other diamonds. You develop your own niche here. Amen? When someone tries to say, everybody, we're not a bunch of zombies, or not a bunch of mechanical things that you press a button, we all say the same thing. Learn to develop your own personality, your own way of saying things to get the job done. What's your goal?
Okay, so there's a lot here. We need to keep bringing in more legs so we are not just focusing on managing the legs we have. Someone said, I don't like being referred to as a leg. Where was that? Someone said it. I'm kind of, literally Red Wing. I highlighted it because I thought it was funny. Yeah, it's strange to be referred to as a leg. We are a person, but we know in Amway we're a leg, we're a number, we are our rank or our PV. It doesn't really matter like who we are, what we're going through. It's just like how we can contribute to Bill's personal volume, and so he can maintain his rank. So it's interesting. We can't just maintain the legs we have, or else we're going to go into management mode. And people do not want to be led by a manager. They want to be led by a leader. And everyone wants a sponsor with width. Everyone wants a sponsor who has a lot of personally sponsored people. But he was telling us about how important it is to have depth too, because we're no one if we just have width and our people are not recruiting people as well, and so on and so on. So in my opinion, he's really contradicting himself here. And he was saying the goal is, okay, 15 people doing 1,000 PV in 90 days, but where's the depth? But he did talk elsewhere about the 15 people are 5 deep, so maybe each of those 15 people also have to have five directly sponsored people as well. I'm really not sure, but even if we have 12 active legs in Amway, we still need to be recruiting everyone and prospecting everyone, or else we are going to go into management mode and no one is going to want to join us. The religious aspect has really harmed my parents' marriage, as the power dynamic has been somewhat out of control, but they believe it's how the business leaders get to be successful. I am sorry to hear that. That's so sad. They don't realize how many couples in Amway and other MLMs get divorced because those people get swept under the rug. The leaders want people to think Amway is good for marriage. I'm sorry, but thank you for sharing that. That is very, very sad. I'm very happy you're here and sharing your knowledge and your experiences with us. Exactly. Same here. All of the Amway friends do for sure. Agreed, Gary. Agreed. Okay. I'm trying my best to follow the numbers, trying really hard. The numbers itself don't really matter, but I'm trying to at least get like 90% of what he's saying.
Your goal is diamond, isn't it? Okay, we're in the process, aren't we? Now, wait a minute. Let me go back and correct you. Everything I teach teaches you double diamond, not diamond. I start off with a brand new person the same way that wants to go double diamond as I do it wants to go direct. We just cool it after a while. But we start off everybody the same way so that there's no excuses. We don't start off direct one set of instructions and double diamond. Okay, now you're staying in here. You're not sponsoring now. You say, well, okay, let's use common sense. Say somebody comes up, I want to get in your business. Okay, let them in. Don't say, well, it's not time right now. You have to wait till it's time. You know, use common sense here. Now, if you don't get 3 to 4 legs out of 12, what do? Sponsor more. If you went out to Skid Row and got your 12, you're going to have to sponsor about 635 to get 3 to 4 that may get started. Depends on self-image. Nobody.
Okay, he said something about if you can't get your 3 to 4, then just keep sponsoring. Did he say go out to Skid Row? When was Skid Row? When does he mean the part in Los Angeles where it's like huge city blocks full of very homeless, vulnerable people, not very homeless, very vulnerable individuals who are unhoused, living in tents? They're the most vulnerable people. Is that what he's saying? Like, did he literally just tell us to go to Skid Row? When did Skid Row start? When did Skid Row start in Los Angeles? Since its inception at the end of the 19th century, Los Angeles' Skid Row has been defined by, yeah. When did it begin? It was established by city officials in 1976 as an unofficial containment zone where shelters and services for homeless people would be tolerated. Okay, so did he literally tell us to go to Skid Row if we can't find people? Is that what he said? Is that literally what he said? That is horrifying. And Mark said Amway goes after homeless people. Do they really? Like, actually unhoused people? They're the most vulnerable people you could go after, who literally just need to be safe, who need to find a place to sleep and not freeze to death and not starve. I can't stand that. That's horrifying. 12 legs, 5 deep. I can't decide whether this sounds more like a lobster or 2 kids in a huge raincoat pretending to be one adult, you know? One kid standing on the other's shoulders. I love that. That's funny. He did say it. Yeah, I wonder if he means actual Skid Row. Many places have a Skid Row. They do. Okay, so is Skid Row just like an umbrella term for an area where individuals who are unhoused live and congregate and where their services provided? Is that what that means? Interesting, though. The money and flashy lifestyle, financial stability is gateway to his influence. If you're not swayed by it, the rest won't mean much to you either. Oh, okay. And what did Lori say? Okay, Lori said, I don't really understand his appeal. And then PH Actress answered, okay, got you. Yeah, many places have a Skid Row. I didn't know that. I just assumed there was the one in Los Angeles. Thank you guys for teaching me stuff. Virtual hugs and virtual acts throwing to relieve stress at PH Actress. Yeah, PH Actress, like, obviously you need to, like, if you need to skip out, you can for sure. I know you like to watch the Amway streams, but if it's ever not like a positive experience for you, we want you to be happy and comfortable. So yes, please skip out anytime you need.
Grows past their self-image. So if you can find people to bring in that already have a good self-image and are humble about it, you're going to be doing pretty good. So you're looking for people with good self-image. Look for people that dress good, that talk well, that are bold, that are confident, that don't have too many hang-ups. Okay, so you keep working in here till you go direct. As soon as you go direct, this is where the biggest mistake is made right here. Most people think, look.
You just told us to go to Skid Row to recruit people, and then you're telling us people who don't have a lot of hangups who are bold and confident and look nice. So which one is it? And Seattle originally meant where they skidded logs down to the harbor to be loaded on the ships. Interesting. Heather, what homeless people really need is motivational material that will show them that they're just lazy and need to work harder. Instead of like clothing and a secure place to live. Like if Rich and Jay just went out to places where homeless people gather, they could actually like provide them real life-saving immediate support and not be scamming extremely vulnerable people.
Look, I got 12 legs. I'm working myself halfway to death. I don't need any more people right now. Yes, you do. You ain't got 12 legs. You think you got 12 legs. You have 3 or 4. I hope and pray to God you got 3. So what do? As soon as you go direct, that's precise time exactly to do it. You got your list, you sit down and call, and within a night or 2 or a week or 2 at least, you bring in the 8 and you do the same thing again, 2, 3, 4, 5 at least. The only thing, if I got enough people complain enough, I'll make this 6 and then add a couple more at the end. But I just want to beef it up a little bit here because you're a little more excited. And I think the 32 is going to lead you to 12. Plus, if you do the 12 right, the 32 will lead you to 15 and 18 and maybe 20 directs. But there'll be the incubators coming on. You with me? So you don't have to get on anybody's case. You become a leader, but you can't lead people that don't want to be led. So you're looking for people who are willing to listen, willing to learn. Like you guys, you came here, you're willing. So that's why we can't let you go home without knowing what you need to do exactly and precisely. Okay. Then now you're working all this, which is 20. Now that's 20 you're working. And you stay in that until you've got emerald in the bag. And as soon as you hit the 3rd leg over, 25% bracket to stay. The minute you do, you've been making a list all this time. And you've got a big list made up now. You should have maybe 100, 150 names on your list. And you sit down, and in no time, bingo, you bring in a batch. Why? They compete. These guys can't compete with these guys. These guys have been in too long. And you don't want to compete with some of these that aren't doing anything. You want to find one's going to do something, compete against each other. I'll tell you, you guys have 2 kids, you get them in, and one won't do much usually until you get the other one in. And then the one to want the other one get ahead of them. Now, if you only got 1 kid, you get them along, get them compete with somebody else's kids or something. I mean, you figure how to do that. Okay, so now, rather than that, now here's where we're working now.
Okay. I love to finally hear people say the truth about Bo Britt. It's maddening to hear cult members talk about how much he's helped and healed the world when he helped break it. That's a very powerful statement, and it's very, very true. Hello, Christopher. How's it going? Okay, I think he meant don't go to Skid Row for prospects. He said if you go to Skid Row to find your prospects, you'll have to get many plants to find people that want to do the business. Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah. I totally misunderstood it. And so I like it when people here are able to be like, hey, I think he actually meant this. Or, hey, there's actually multiple Skid Rows. It's not just in Los Angeles. So thank you for that. You're probably right, because based off what he was saying, like, he wants people who are confident and, like PH Actress said here, who have a steady stream of income so they can actually buy the products and contribute to the personal volume. Yeah, so that makes sense. Thank you, Christopher. They want to meet a jolly, carefree hobo from the Great Depression. Have you ever seen deaf people in Amway? Ever seen a sign language interpreter at the conferences? Brilliant question. I love that question. Okay. So, yes, we need people to have a good self-image. We already referred to that. And he's saying it makes it seem so easy. We just need to bring in a certain amount of people, and then those people will turn into a specific number of directs. Although we could bring in like 30 people, and none of those people could actually stick around, contribute to our volume, and become solid direct distributors. They could all quit. So he's saying like you could bring in 32 people and that could lead to 20 directs, or you could bring in 32 people and they're all going to quit within a week. You really don't know. It's really such a toss-up. That's why Amway is a huge numbers game. And if you just keep bringing in more and more people, then you will eventually get to the 20 directs he said you would get to, is like what he's saying, right? And so you need to always be writing down the contact information of every single person you meet. So if everyone quits, you'll have another person on the list that you can try to convince into joining Amway. And yeah, he already said this. You bring in new people in batches so they'll all compete with each other. And if one new person is doing really well and gets to Emerald really quickly, that will encourage the other person to get to Emerald too. And then they could potentially fight with each other and have a competition to get to Diamond first. Hi, Sherry. How's it going? Thank you for joining. It's so nice to see you. This is part 1 of a long ass video. We're not going to watch the 57 minutes because we'd be here for 22 hours.
Okay. Now, how long do we do this? 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only until we do the 90-day deal. 15, 90 days, another 1,000 PV minimum. Now, I really think we're going to bump up the 1,000 big time. All right. Now, as soon as you do that, bring in the last batch. So here we are now. We got this whole thing now that we're working on. Direct, Emerald, and now we got this whole thing. You with me? You got 32 personally sponsored. You got plenty of work to do. There's no question about it. You're so busy working with the ones that want it, you don't have any time to fool with the ones that don't want it. But if one of them that don't want it turns around and says, I want it, I'm willing to do what it takes, then you got plenty of time for them because you got an organization going now. Okay? Now, that's going to take you, see, you're already at Emerald, but doing this part. So you're already at Emerald. Now, this is going to take you right on to Diamond, EDC. See how it builds up? And double Diamond. It's going to take you up to triple and probably crown. The key is when you break from here to here, the key is bringing them in groups, close proximity. The key is setting the example. And you always have time to get 3 or 4 started. Let me tell you something. When you work depth, there's some misconceptions about depth. You say, when do you work depth, Bill?
I'm sorry you were under an extreme amount of stress. That's really sad. I'm sorry to hear that. But it's good point. Like, you're not sure, but you're also a kid and you had other things going on, so you don't actually know. But that's a really interesting question, Elaine. Thank you for bringing that up. It's interesting. He's saying that you get to 32 personally sponsored, and then that will get you to Emerald, and doing these same tasks will get you to Diamond, then double Diamond, then triple, then Crown, and so on and so forth. It's interesting because we hear people nowadays say what gets you to this rank in our MLM is not going to get you to the next level, but it's interesting to hear that it's kind of switched here. What gets you to Emerald will get you to the higher ranks. Maybe it's just trying to say, like, you do the same activities of prospecting everyone. I think Gary said earlier, everyone has a mark on them, right? And you try to recruit everyone. If you just keep doing that main activity, then you will eventually get to the higher ranks, according to him. But we know that's not true. That's false, because more people nowadays know Amway's a scam, and it doesn't matter if you write down everyone you meet. Chances are they're all going to say no.
What do you think I'm doing this weekend? What do you think I did 2 weeks ago on the West Coast? I'm working depth. What do you think I do when I do a family reunion? I'm working depth. What do you think I do if I do a leadership? Depth. What do you think I do if I do a dream night? Depth. What do you think I do if I do almost anything now? Depth. But you know who I'm working depth with? My winners. You guys are all winners, or you wouldn't be here. Now, this is valuable. I work depth here, and this is big time, big deal. See, it's learning how to use your time efficiently. You only got so many days a year that you can work your business, and that's why you don't want to keep turning cranks where nothing's going to come out of it. That's why a lot of people have got to do a lot of work, and that's why you want to relate to that work ethic so that you can work your depth at the right time. A lot of people think when I say depth, I'm starting off a guy and working forever and he's depth. I don't do that. 5 to 7 meetings, it's go or no go. And I hope by the time I've done 5 meetings, I never have to do another meeting for them. I'm just proving who I am and what I stand for. It's a baby. I'm in there changing their diapers. But you know, after they start growing and everything, we got a system. They get fed. They're getting fed. I'm making sure the system we've created feeds them. How they feed them? Local rallies every month. Attitudes. Other people. Your whole group becomes part of your whole system. And but see, everybody in here is a part of my whole system. So you can get fed all over the country. We can have guys in California getting fed fantastic. New York getting fed fantastic. That's why we set up a system. Books, tapes. That's how you feed people. Fantastic. Listen to tapes every week. That's why we want everybody on the same standing order. Everybody will be hearing the same thing at the same time.
Okay, I have stuff to say. You only work depth with the winners. So everyone in your downline does not get the privilege of your attention if they're not winners, if they're not getting certain levels of PV, they're not rank advancing, then they don't deserve those time, because he has a limited amount of time and he'd rather have fewer people in his downline that required less of his attention. And he was saying when he's working depth, it's only 5 to 7 meetings for a no or no go to determine whether or not that person in his depth, in his downline, actually deserves his attention. And with these new people, whether or not we're determining if they're a winner, we have to change their diapers, their babies. We have to feed them. How do we feed them? Feed them through books, tapes, and rallies. He's going to tell us in a second. That's why he wants us to have a standing order. We don't need to have 90 books. We just need 16 good books that we just keep reading over and over and over again. And that's how we feed ourselves as a baby, as a new person in Amway. That's how we feed ourselves, through books, tapes, and rallies, through the Amway tool scam. This is interesting. I'm an American language interpreter. MLMs are everywhere in the deaf community. A big one back in the day was Canadian diamond traders. Wow, interesting. I refuse to interpret at conferences or anything about the MLM, and many other interpreters are refusing as well because it is a scam and we need to live with ourselves. That's interesting. I've never thought of that connection before about how they may target the deaf community. So thank you for sharing that for sure. Thank you. And thank you for asking that question too about whether there's any interpreters at the Amway conferences. I agree, Lori, completely. Ugh, yes, Sherry. We're almost done. We're going to go to 31 minutes, and then that's going to be all of part 1. So we're almost done.
You guys are going here and buy books that everybody else isn't buying. You're screwing up. We need people reading the same. We don't need 16,000 books. We need about 16 good books. You get through read them again. We don't need people reading books no one else has heard of and going around and telling them about a book never heard of and wonder why the upline don't get the book for them and things like that. People don't understand. This is a simple business. You don't make it a complicated business. You keep it simple. This is simple. If I can show you in 20 minutes to 30 minutes on one little cotton picking machine up on a board, that's phenomenal, isn't it? I can put up here in 20, 30 minutes exactly what you do with numbers. These are all human beings to be very, very wealthy. It's how you use your time and your energies, and by developing the right knowledge and using it the right way and putting the word out there and say, I do that. Now, let me ask you, how many people in here can sponsor 6 people and get 5 deep in 90 days and 15 distributorships? Well, join the club. If you can do it, you can teach it. All it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you can do it once, can you do it 5 times? Yeah. But of course, this it's going to be bigger each time as we go. But later, all of these get bigger, and one of them is going to get, this one may get super big later on down here, so to speak. All based on the leadership that people believe in and stay on track. The more a person stays on track, the less confusion and the more growth. There's another few things we know about too.
Okay, so that's all we're going to do because we don't need to be here for 600 years. So everyone needs to read the same books, the same approximately 16 books. I wonder why we all need to read the same books. Why can't we look at our own personal development books, read what we think is viable to us? Because we all need to think the same. We all need to follow the Brit worldwide system. We all need to be bought into everything that Bill and Peggy said, or else we're not winners and we're not worthy of his attention. He's saying the business is so simple. It took him only 20 minutes to show us how to become wealthy. 99.9% of those people in your audience, Bill, they were all going into debt to get to your business, to get to your conference. They are all losing money. They do not follow it. They do not know how to get wealthy because you made it so incredibly complicated that your average person is not going to understand. You're just telling them, get this many and this many and this many, and then this will happen. That's not realistic for your average person to actually comprehend. And then he's saying, if you can do it, you can teach it. And if you can do it once, you can do it 5 times. I'm sorry. Just because you can kind of do something does not mean you're able to teach it. I am a good writer in specific environments, but that does not mean I can teach others how to be a good professional writer. That's not the same. And just because someone could get that certain number of people one time does not mean that you can get that certain number of people another time, because there are limited amounts of people in the world, especially a limited amounts of people who don't know that Amway is already a scam. I don't already know that Amway is a scam. I'm waving around my pen because I'm getting frustrated. You only need 16 good books, but trust and believe Amway IBOs have way more Amway tool books on their shelves than that. They buy one every single month along with a streaming subscription. Oh, we can stop the share because we're done. I'm frustrated. I wish Stephen Hassan could deprogram these people. Exactly. Christopher says MLM is by definition based on using people, so his advice makes total sense. That's what's so awful about this tape, but it's not all surprising or outside the norm of Amway business orientation. Exactly, you're right, because they're all kind of the same. They're all the same, unfortunately. It's just said by someone different, by a different top Amway distributor. It's wrapped up in slightly different way, but it's all the same. You're right. It's all. Do you notice there is nothing in this 31 minutes? There is nothing about there's nothing about how to sell a product, how to get and keep customers, even though the sons of the co-founders has said Amway is all about getting and keeping customers. There's nothing about customers. It was all about getting a certain number of people in your width and your depth so you can hit and maintain a certain rank. If I heard this, I'd be like, I can't recruit people. I'm not a salesperson. I would fail. I need to quit. I need to leave, because he's making it really obvious that sales has nothing to do with it. We just need to recruit. He's distracting us with all this process because he can't tell us the real way he made the money. Yeah, selling the stupid brainwashing tools. No one in his audience has the opportunity to do that. Exactly. Great, amazing point. I'm going to confuse you with as many numbers as possible so you don't wonder, hey, is Bill making his wealth through me spending all this money to go to this conference and this book and this tape and this tape and that book? Hey, how much money did I actually spend in the last year on all his books? I wonder. That's a good point. I love that. Oh, I'm frustrated. I need a drink. So I think I'm done. That's all I wanted to do. We have 31 minutes, and then we'll do the last like half an hour-ish the next time I go live, and we'll finish this up. I tried my best to follow the numbers. I'm really glad I wrote stuff down and I was able to let it play for a bit and not forget everything. Moral of the story is recruit people in batches, get them in fast, get them to compete for your attention. Only give the attention of those who are winners, aka those who are meeting their personal volume requirements and helping you maintain your rank. Don't pay attention to the losers. Recruit people who are well put together, who are excited and confident, and who can afford to pay for the personal volume requirements and the products. Have a good night, LOL. I need to go back and see the beginning. Thank you, Sherry. So nice to see you. Thanks, Heather. Thanks, everyone. You're welcome, Lori. Oh, thank you, Christopher. Thank you for joining. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, so that's all I have for today. I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time for part 2. Bye.